This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends.
For June 12th, 2025, it's the best sounding podcast in higher. I got nothing in my ears here, Larry.
It's there.
All right.
Just
fine,
trust
good.
us.
For June 12th, 2025, it's the best sounding podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, episode number 114, and we're doing this live. It's day 2 at Infocomm. Holy crap, stop doing that. It's day 2 at Infocomm.
You asked me for more in your ears.
The caffeine is barely holding, but we're still standing. We've seen too many LEDs.
We are
argued
currently
about
sitting.
Dante and AVB.
Working on audio.
We definitely all collected flyers for things we're never going to look up again.
Yes.
We're live-ish. We're sweaty.
I'm full of AI.
We've had too much AI for lunch.
I've had a lot of AI.
So this is our Infocomm Day 2 afternoon slump special. So,
Are we
as always,
slumping?
I'm Chris Dector, and not even food poisoning can get rid of me. But let's say hello to today's panel of August AV Super Friends. So today, I'm joined by a regional demo loop synchronization specialist from Kansas City. Say hello to Mr. Jamie Reinhardt.
Hi.
I got nothing.
I got nothing. To be honest, I wasn't listening.
Also joined by
This
a
is going
director
great.
of carpet padding and ergonomic relief from Greensboro, North Carolina. Everyone welcome Larry Darling.
You're doing well today.
I am, like, apparently.
The knees are only half as sore as they were yesterday, so well done.
And finally, joined by our illustrious Vice President of Passive Engagement from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Mr. Justin Rexon.
Passive engagement of AI. It's all about the AI.
based.
Yeah.
And we're also joined by a cadre of special guests who are going to be rotating in and out as we wildly adjust levels throughout, and hopefully the compression will take care of everything in the edit. So joined by David Maxa, Mike Brandis from Q-SYS, who are here to talk about stuff and things.
Stuff with Q-SYS.
Things and stuff and stuff and things.
I think
That's
as
what
far
we're
as
doing.
we're
We're,
gonna stuff and
not going
things.
to talk projectors.
Let's talk AMX.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
No?
Is that not the bowling company?
The bowling
Credit
company.
card.
Credit card. Oh, yeah.
Okay, yep.
So I've got one of those.
A credit card?
Yeah.
They took Dave's away at dinner
Yeah.
last night.
Pretty
Yeah.
excited for it. You know, I'll get
Yeah.
to buy things I don't have money for. I'm jazzed. Going to get a
Use
candy
someone
bar.
else's money, then it's not real.
Like pigeons.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you guys for leaving early, so I had to wash dishes. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you
We're
you
taking
paid,
care
though,
of you.
right?
Yeah.
You paid last night?
Through dishwashing, yeah.
Oh, it wasn't a dine and dash?
You missed a lot,
I had a
Chris.
bad knee.
His fingers are still pruny.
I was too swollen from the meat sweats.
That I did have.
Too swollen for the meat sweats. That's going to go ahead and be the title of the
That's the
episode.
title of the show.
I did have a few ankles that were about the size of basketballs this morning. I was
Shocked.
like, that was probably all the sausage.
Call me shocked. Atkins came by and said he didn't eat breakfast or lunch yet.
Atkins
and wasn't
is probably,
hungry.
Atkins ate more than I did.
Man, he was
Yeah.
putting it away.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
We
He's
talked a
eating
lot
for
of
free,
we
too.
talked a lot about Q-SYS last night, but here we are. Let's be
I
a
think-
bit more
I think
professional.
Yes.
Atkins' picture should be our show picture today.
Oh, you think? Oh, with the pineapple bullshit?
As someone who wasn't there, can you
Yes.
paint me a word cloud?
Here you go.
of
Here, I
pineapple?
got you.
I
I
wasn't
got
there
you,
either, but-
Mike.
Then
here
I
you
will
go.
paint the listener, my dear reader, a word cloud once it's handed
But
to me.
but Chris saw the picture.
So
I did see the picture.
So Atkins leaned over to me and he says, "I'm going to order the pina colada. Watch this."
And then he did.
And I thought it was going to come out in the normal fruity glass. Nope. Full-on pineapple action.
He is just living his best life.
He did.
is.
With one hand on the bottom of the pineapple, the other hand steadying the straws. He takes a big gulp and enjoys his tropical
He's
passions.
kind of looking off, like
Yeah.
very picturesque.
Just making sure that everyone's seeing him living
Uh-huh.
his best
And
life.
this photo was taken surreptitiously, right?
yeah, and I
Oh,
I
he
kinda went like,
expected it.
I kind of pulled my
I
camera
don't
right
really
above
care.
the table. He
No.
doesn't know we have this yet.
Oh.
Oh,
Just gonna keep sending him random
He's going to
photos.
listen to
Yeah.
this show, and we should make it the show, Art.
Okay.
We're going to do it.
Yeah, or maybe an AI version.
Well, thanks
of
for
it,
joining us
since-
for Pina Colada Talk.
And it was raining.
Yeah,
A lot.
I did get lost in the rain.
I like pina coladas, getting lost in the rain.
So I guess I think we've gotten as far as we got on our planning that we're going to talk about things and stuff. So
Things
you
and
guys
stuff.
have some things and stuff here. I'm assuming we're going to talk wildly about new product announcements, new hardware that is now shipping. You're going to talk about all sorts of partnerships with other manufacturers to dramatically broaden the ecosystem, all of that.
Plugins and widgets.
Widgets.
I'm going to talk to you about your car's extended warranty situation. What do you got going on over there?
Been meaning to.
The 2012 Ford Focus?
What are you going to do? Oh, that's
1976 Dodge Power
I have
Wagon.
one of those. What are you going to do for higher ed nerds? Huh?
For higher ed, so in like taking a broader view, and Mike can go into more detail on the product descriptions.
Yeah.
We so choose, but yeah, so there's a varying amount of new cores out, and so we continue to expand and improve upon that lineup, filling in some gaps that we didn't have before. And again, Mike can detail each one, but additionally, like Vision Suite has gotten some new, as we call it, the VSA. So it's being upgraded.
The
even
new
better.
what?
VSA.
BSA.
VSA.
Victor, Sam,
I thought it was
Aaron.
BS.
No BSA. No BSA. It's all.
His detector went off, though.
It's all AI works. You don't even have to do anything.
Justin, can I get you some more AI?
I would love it.
Yeah.
I've been trying to absorb all the AI, so let's just only talk about AI here.
So yeah, help us out with that.
But more the fake AI stuff. I don't want the real AI stuff.
Okay. Well, we have AI-powered carpet here that we're sitting on. It's pretty exciting. So let me kind of distribute some of that knowledge here. As David mentioned, we've got some new products that are replacing some favorite products for us. It's all about getting more powerful products to the market that cost less than they did before. And that's kind of what happens when we're leveraging essentially just computers with audio boards that plug into them, Intel-based, so we're able to capture the speed of technology. The Vision Suite is about getting a better outcome with a lot less effort put into it.
Yeah.
No more presets. We're actually using the AI to find people in the audience that are talking, along with audio coming from the microphone, instead of just recalling one of 500 presets you have set in your Econ 101 auditorium.
Now, if you're using AI to find people in the room who are talking, are those people then like shushed from the system?
So we are taking some beamforming information from the microphone in less granular slices, and then using the computer vision to complete the identification process.
Less granular slices.
Yes. Which means wider.
Yes, but but the camera
Looks at a large area and can identify the person talking in it, instead of having to find a prescript area that's the size of your shoulders in which you are located as a predetermined
So they're using the
presets.
audio as a guide and then using the video to home in on it?
Correct. And so that way, if you want to always leave your furniture in the exact same place for the rest of your life, fine. But if you ever want to move it, it kind of doesn't really help. So you need to be able to create wide areas for pod setups or row setups or whatever setup we dream up tomorrow to flip the classroom. Being able to have your system just work without being in a dedicated place with spike tape on the carpet, and hoping that the cleaning crew and the events crew, as they reset the room throughout the day, do it correctly.
Right.
So yeah, a
You
lot
don't go
more
around at the end of the day
flexibility.
and pull all the tape up.
I'm not pulling tape up.
No, that's a student worker job, sounds
I've been
like.
doing that for years.
That's
It's great.
Jamie's job.
I also like to walk construction sites and find the
'Cause
blue
I'm
tape
short.
for punch items and take those too. So
Yeah. So
And they complain the punch is never done?
yeah, why is this wall still dinged up?
So yeah, I think the big part, right? Takeaway is easier to use and install and implement, and it's all part of one software now, right? Which is what we've
So
talked about
on a
across the
scale of
board.
like 1 to like 10, 1 being like
I use a
man,
15.
terrible.
I use a 15 scale.
And then
I
1
do.
to 15.
on a scale of 1 to 11, and then 11 being like creepy Skynet AI. Where are we on this?
Well, I think if one is, let's just take information and recall preset when that information threshold is reached, we're probably at a 4. I think there's a lot of room to go from there where you don't have to create zones, where you can build your entire room automatically through AI. So I think there's a lot of area between here and the singularity to explore and get really uncomfortable with.
Does that mean potentially you could use something like ease mapping to look at the acoustic profile of a room and then leverage that information?
Well, I think, and we can walk anybody who comes down to the booth through, but we're using essentially April tags and giant QR codes that you spread out throughout your room. Our camera, when it starts up, finds all the different QR codes and builds a 3D model of the room.
Huh.
From there, we have an XYZ access capability to know where audio is coming from, not only dimensionally flat, but also depth, height, things like that. So you're able to understand your volume, and from there, you've already built your acoustic model, to your point.
So if you're putting QR codes around the room, does someone just do that wherever they want, or is there like a specific height and you have to?
Yeah, so it's the process is pretty specific. You want to put it somewhere to start, and then from there you're applying, like you measure out how far you want to put the next one, and then that goes into the system, and then it builds a 3D model as it sees where those are. So if you say they're 11 feet 4 inches from each other, and we have one here, and one there, well, we've just calculated to 22 feet.
So you put them up, then you define the metrics of where you put them up.
And now the camera's built a 3D model of the room, and you can take them down, and we know exactly what your room's looking like in Q-SYS Designer, where your furniture's sitting, where the microphone's sitting in an RCP, able to calculate reflections, things like that, to kind of make it, again, more intelligent. And all this extra work is still less involved and cumbersome than the initial preset setup was for the previous version.
Yeah. So if I put those stickers on there, we got to take them back off. Is there a sticky residue that's left back so we can get some goo gone?
That's a good question. That's, first of all, an adhesive question. I think
Yeah.
what you're going to want to address the question to is whether or not Chris is going to take the blue tape off the punch list.
Right.
For facilities coming through to finish the room.
Okay. I just didn't want a bunch of boogers on my wall. You know what I mean?
Oh, it sounded like you wanted the
No, I
adhesive.
didn't want to. I didn't want to get goo gone.
Well, I mean, it's however
Like, do you ship
choose.
goo gone with the core?
We can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a sticky note, man. You'll be fine.
It'll be okay.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
core is
Right.
full of Goo Gone.
It's not like
That's actually what it
industrial
runs on.
adhesive. It's not
No,
like
it's a
liquid nail.
what it is it's one of those.
It takes the sheetrock wallpaper off.
And this is kind of progressive, so bear with me if you're not familiar, but it's what's called a digital file, and then you print it, and then you can put it on the wall with
Scotch tape.
Scotch tape. That's a name brand. I don't know if we're licensed to use that on
We
the
can
show.
use that.
Any type of tape.
Okay.
You could use a push pin.
Invisible tape.
You know, however the adhesive spirits lead you.
We have the same lawyers as Scotch tape. We'll be all right.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh.
Interesting. I didn't know. I actually didn't know that that was.
Where?
What?
Never mind.
Huh?
Just-
What, Jamie?
Why did we get off on that?
On the
tape?
Scotch? On the. It's
Anyway.
really cool.
Tape.
His primary concern is what kind of tape it uses.
Well,
right.
I mean, it's a thing.
It's Betamax.
Yeah.
I think something else we can pivot to that made Jamie really happy in the last week.
Actually, I was going to ask about it.
Yeah.
I was going
Oh,
to
we're
try to
reading
give you
minds now?
kudos.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
I'm assuming the fact that I get the Jamie has free gear stuff.
no, not that part. No.
that program's not active. Okay.
If you mean free, included in our scripting and UCI licenses will be embedded in our course. You don't have to worry about managing those
Oh
anymore.
my God.
And I am not, yes, you give me a hard time. But, there was a lot of folks that are like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now the license structure you have are for things that make sense, which is kind of what I've been bitching about for years, right?
Except the Dante 8.
But the Dante 8, licensing that makes sense.
No.
Okay.
And
we
if
have
you ever-
controversy.
So now it's converted, slid over to Chris on that one.
Well,
But
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I'm still going to hang on to that one.
And if you were gonna just on every NV series, you were gonna put on Dolby decoding, and there had to be a license to get the extra. Fine, some of this we understand, right? It was you want to control shit? Yeah, give us more money. Wait, you advertise that it does this thing. Well, it does, kind of, maybe. Well, not what the way you think, but sure. So really, just simplifying that. And then for higher ed users in particular, we didn't have direct access to portals. We didn't have.
Yep.
So we had this weird in between where we had to keep track of these keys, the emails that came, and then which PO did it go to. It was just a freaking nightmare.
I print mine off and I use that tape to stick them in the wall.
Right next to the QR code.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but the painters keep pulling it off and redoing it.
And like you said, part of it, I think you mentioned it in one of your shows, is, you know, when it was announced, is like, it was the connection, right? And the thought process wasn't to try and ever nickel and dime anyone as part of it. It was like, okay, is
God.
adoption to the platform and the control side, right? You know, we hear all the time, I'm this house, I'm that house, and it was like, we wouldn't be thought of more than just a DSP. We wouldn't be thought of as a platform overall.
Yeah.
And so that was the concept, and then we started seeing connection rates that were high, very high.
Yeah,
and
what was the
grow.
number during Activate? Like 80% of.
So there's 2 different licenses, but roughly 81% overall
It's
adoption.
even higher now. It keeps going up. It was
When we-
65 a year ago.
When
now
we
it's 80.
started, it was when we first introduced it. There was a lot of, as we would say in the old country, kvetching over it, and there was like a 19% attach rate. First of all, when you need to build something out to be better than it is, you kind of need to fund that, and licenses helped us do that at a time where people were buying dedicated control processors anyways, just out of muscle memory. And then it also gave us a real nice path of like, you know, if it's free, not many people think it's useful. And you kind of change the psychology. So anyways, in a few years, we went from roughly a 20% attach rate to an 80% attach rate. When you hit the critical mass, or the go back to singularity, it kind of makes sense just to roll it into the platform. We're not charging you for AEC channels or the number of mixer inputs. I mean, we're not trying to really tokenize you. It's just a matter of to make something useful to the point where you're annoyed that you have to pay extra for it. Like,
And
it was nice to fund that development to make it a world-class control platform instead of just advancing files on an audio player.
And it just made it, well, and some of us ran into issues too with when we say licensing, right? And I know we call them entitlements, but that's not what it
that
goes.
was just me. That was just me.
Oh, you're the one that started that.
I did.
Yeah, because of me, mostly.
I think it did start there. Yeah, it's on. I think you're entitled to use it. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. But you know, when that hits some of our POs in higher ed, it automatically wants to get kicked over to software licensing, and then they have a freak out. So it just was a headache that was like one of the downticks on using Q-SYS. Now, we did it, right? We found a way through it. But when you say, okay, hey, we're going to streamline this, we're going to make it a little bit easier for you to use, it was it was like, okay, thank you.
I got a question.
Nice.
So if we have an existing core that we want to change over to control, we still have to buy the license?
No, so if you go ahead and take that existing core that you bought whenever you bought it, whatever year ago you bought it, and you update it to version 10.0, it's not going to ask you for any control or UCI license. If you buy a core in 6 weeks and you need to run that core on 9.4 to swap out for something, we'll give you a free license.
Okay.
So that way you can take that, because it's post policy. Again, we're not trying to make anything more difficult. But, you know, to your point, it's the law of unintended consequence. We think we're going to make this better, something over here breaks. The key thing is we listen to our customers, and when you make fun of us on Reddit, or when you make fun of us on Discord, or when you call angrily to my cell phone, or whatever, all those get written down. Yes, my phone number is davidmaxa@qsy.com.
Perfect. What's Discord, Justin? I don't even know.
I don't know
people
either.
aren't in agreement.
It's the messaging platform that we use that I don't pay attention to, apparently.
Yeah, he's such a
Or
Slack,
Jamie.
Twice a day I open it.
There it is.
Whether
I
it
don't think
needs
it's
to or
even
not.
twice a day.
Yeah, I was going to say it has not been twice a day.
Oh no, I open it twice a day. I may not respond to you fools, but I open it.
Yeah, I think
That's a stone cold admittance right there. I'm proud of you.
There's no hiding things anymore.
I think going into something else Jamie probably liked, but in general, is like the Core 110F, right? That was been around forever, 10 plus years, and still as powerful as almost any DSP in the market, and now it's moving to the 24. And so you're actually getting your LED panel back in the front. You know, people are excited about that. GPIO is back, because I know, some people still have the analog.
It's back. 4 network interfaces, so you can communicate with QLAN.
I love that.
Your management network. You can hit your VoIP network, and you can still have a network available to. I don't know what you want to do with that fourth one, but it's there.
Yeah, that fourth one is kind of like, why not just throw it in there? Let's see
Yeah,
what
we're
happens.
just going to connect it straight to the internet so we can print from it.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like having that.
Set it up as an edge appliance. Let's go.
To be clear, for anyone who might have InfoSec concerns, you cannot set it up as an edge appliance. Not supported, not possible.
So, Mike, you did mention there something that maybe you didn't mean to give away, that you guys are now supporting plugins for printers. Is that?
If it can be controlled, Q-SYS can control it. I've said that for years, and someday I'll dig up the video from the kid in Ohio that made the bread maker.
What the hell am I going to use that for?
To print those QR codes to stick on the wall.
Oh, right.
So you can use our webhook API to issue a reflect notice to your phone, or you can just send it to a group printer.
Just
and that might
like a CVS receipt. Let's just keep on going.
I like that.
I'm thinking, like, could we put in, 18 to 24 inches for every single issue and just have it spooled up on the floor, like that scene in The Bear? Is anyone a Bear fan where they're just
I like The Bear.
and churning
Yeah,
and
be like,
churning
oh, look, we got a ticket, and it's on the floor. And you
I love that. He's like, what are all
decode
these
it?
orders?
Yeah.
It's money.
Yeah, and I actually think that's a pretty good transition as we bring in our next guest.
Oh.
Thanks for pointing it out, ruining the theater of the mind here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I take away from your... I didn't know if you were up to speed. You were still feeling
I thought you
well.
were just going to swap out and suddenly David's voice.
Oh, go ahead and introduce our next guest then, David.
So talking about Reflect, we have some updates coming to Reflect and what we're doing in the near future. And behind that is going to join, I'm going to swap headsets with Dave Judy, who's Director, Cloud and Control Product Strategy.
And for those of you...
That sounds made up.
There's no way
title.
that fits on your card. Do you have business cards, Dave?
What year is this?
Oh, he does not have business cards.
It's
that makes sense.
a QR
Okay.
code. You print it out and tape it to the wall.
Yeah.
So I'm
exactly.
So I'm going to hand off to David.
And for those of you following along at home, Q-SYS Reflect is our cloud platform. It supports monitoring and management of Q-SYS and third-party devices from anywhere in the world. And David can tell us about the fun, exciting things we previewed at our Activate event. So you don't have the joy of seeing screenshots and walkthroughs, but that is available online at qsys.com/activate if you want to go back and watch that in real time.
Sure, yeah. So up until now, Reflect has really been focused on monitoring and management of just the hardware, the systems in each space, and kind of the status of those systems, usually at a system level, and with a very logical hierarchy of, like, this is your core, these are the peripherals attached to your core, you're in this organization. What we've launched here with 10.0 for Q-SYS is a new spatial ontology, so that we're starting to track things like regions and campuses, buildings,
floors,
levels,
wings,
floors, rooms. Yeah, that's right. And
colors.
and we'll have zones within rooms and things as well. And so, and we're very intentionally using a standardized ontology that's available. Like, it's used a lot in building management, so we're using Real Estate Core. The concept there is to make it really easy to translate, like, where your AV is in a space versus, like, where your building components are in a space, and to line those up so they match. So, like, when I say something is a level or a room or a zone, that matches what a building would consider a level or a room or a zone. And the ontology we're using also has specific classes for things like what is served by a device and where the device is physically located. So you start to get a little bit more context of not just my core is in this room, but my core is actually serving these rooms, or it's serving paging for an entire level, or things like that. So from a feature perspective, right now all you see in Reflect is the actual spatial organization of your systems. And then we also introduced a lot of time-based visualization, so a time-based system status history, so you can start to see over time. So in conjunction with the ontology, we released, really it's a bunch of time series databases underneath that have different roll-ups, so you can see based on a space or logical system that this room had this status for the past 30 days, the past 7 days.
Yeah,
and
you
then
can tell where you messed up for a long time instead of a short time.
That's right.
And it keeps track of all those records of where I messed up.
That's right.
Even better, it's going to be printed out and shown to your boss.
Yeah, it's just works through his printer, which is now supported through Q-SYS.
And
yeah, that's right.
See, we're creating value.
And it goes ahead and calls the Uber to pick you and your shit up to go home.
Using the VoIP connection.
Security.
Well, and you can stack and see, like, all the systems on a single level. So when you screw up the switch on the level and you bring everything down at once, that's really obvious that, there was a switch issue. So then you can blame it on the IT
team
guy.
for that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which is what we want to do. Blame the IT guys.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, they have it too easy.
So the theme of everything this year is AI.
Sure.
So how much AI are you using in Reflect for doing all this?
And is it real or fake AI?
yeah, so right
Because
now.
I assume you're going to start looking at patterns. You're going to start looking at some automation based on some of those logic controls to see this always happens after the next, so we can start doing that. Here's the common issues, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're definitely looking at all that stuff behind the scenes. We haven't made anything a feature yet, very intentionally, because how many AI tools have you used that you're just like, this is crap, I don't want to touch this again, right? So
Copilot for Excel.
Copilot is, ooh, yeah. I brought that up on the show floor earlier.
Don't you make fun of Clippy?
Clippy added
Clippy-
value.
Clippy is
Enhanced
advanced.
not only value for shareholders, but also for stakeholders.
So the reason
Especially
of the
vegetarians.
Be like Clippy, Chris.
The reason for the ontology is so that we can better organize data for AI and ML. So it's not just.
So you're building that
interactivity.
framework now, so
That's right.
that when you do apply that, it's intentional, it's built out, it's effective.
That's right. Yeah. So
You need data to apply AI to.
Oh, I see. What if I just say I have AI? That doesn't work?
no.
No.
I mean, you
So
can
this
have
is-
an AI. It's just not going to be super smart without any data.
It's not going to do anything
It's
without
going to be
data.
artificial unintelligence.
Yeah, that's right. So we are working on AI-driven features, but we're being very intentional not to rush anything to market, get data that's well-fed, make sure everything that's coming in is structured, that we have all the right data points, and then also a lot of effort behind data privacy and security, because that's something that gets skipped over. And a lot of our customers, large enterprises, are very concerned about where are using our data, or we don't want you to train anything off our data. How do I turn that off? And so building in that is a very complicated part of getting it up in the cloud in a feature format.
I can imagine there's a lot of that where, hey, I'll just sign up for a developer API key from ChatGPT or whatever, or the best one, Copilot, and I send all my data there. Regardless of whose it is, what governance was ignored to get there.
Oh yeah.
That's something that, from an educational institution, you'll be able to get away with it for a year or two, and then someone will notice, and then it will be a real mess.
Yeah,
So
right, absolutely.
we even had just internally, we had our HR team recommend that for doing performance evaluations for employees, they said, oh yeah, just go to ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, whatever.
Oh, man.
Just dump that in there. Just make sure you take their names out.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I saw that, and I'm like, y'all are getting sued. So it was kind of scary, because I know even though their suggestion was anonymize that information, take it out of there, but people just pasted that stuff in and hit go, and so now all that stuff is out there.
It's not governed.
It
No
is
one's
governed.
checking
It's it's governed wide open.
Yeah, well, there's that.
So what kind of things, like from an AI perspective, are universities interested in actually using or not afraid of? That's, is it just like technical telemetry type data? That's okay, we don't mind if that's out there, or we don't trust the AI stuff at all because we're too smart for that? What's that look like?
It's definitely not that too smart for that. But there is a kind of a sense of distrust.
It's a weird gap, I would say, is like there's not a lot of policy, but they want to have policy. There's not a lot of security, but they absolutely require security, like Chris. And so, like, what we're running into is that, we have folks trying to use ChatGPT or Copilot.
Or the best one,
Or
Copilot.
something open
Copilot.
and easy to use
Yeah.
is always not the most secure thing to use.
And then finding out the hard way that, wait a minute. Or administration starts to come on a little bit late, and they're like, wait. You mean all of our room usage data, even though it has nothing to do with students, has nothing to do with HIPAA, it has nothing to do with FERPA, but it's room utilization, movement of people, and where are they gathering, what's the mass? Now, there are good things about this,
Yeah, sure.
but there are also do we need the whole world to know when the massive student body is all going to be in one place?
Football games?
What the trend is? Well, football games usually have security.
Do they though?
The random 2 o'clock class in the one building that everybody goes to that one time a week. So it's just, and that's a weird analogy, but it's that kind of movement.
Yeah.
That they get really, then all of a sudden it's a weird freaky. It's like really?
Well,
this is what's going to break this conversation?
I mean, if you're doing a employee review process, getting a little off tangent here, and you're worried about security, and I won't update their name, but I'm going to update into ChatGPT all of our hiring policies and procedures, does Wyoming care if that information is out there in the ether, right? What information are you uploading?
I can't speak for the entire state, but no.
Yeah. So it's you don't know what people are uploading if you're not governing it.
And I think you guys not rushing to the marketing ploy of we use AI everywhere, and to come out up front and say, look, we're building this on the backbone to be able to use this at another date. So maybe these are like the examples of room movements and turnovers or building managements get tied in. Now all of a sudden it makes more sense. So there is some applause here. Thank you for not rushing into it and just telling the world it.
You want applause?
Yeah.
Would there be?
Please,
You have that on the
please.
soundboard?
Yeah, there you go. Would there be an option? Because I know it's probably going to be, obviously moved to the cloud. Is there an option where it lives on-prem on the core, and like we could have something reporting to us, maybe not to reflect?
That's called an aggregator core, and David hates when I keep asking that.
Right. So that I'm just curious of how that might work out in the future.
Yeah, so I'm not working on anything that is purely on-prem.
Yeah.
We are working on the concept of an on-prem gateway, basically. So kind of like an aggregator, but still not serving all the features up locally, because we are leaning pretty heavily into cloud intelligence for a lot of the stuff. And a lot of our governance is built on the cloud layer, so that we're isolating data by customer when we start to do anything that's AI related, so there's no mix-up and things there. But we're leaning hard into cloud available tools and things that are, in our stack, in the ether, you might say.
Yeah.
I guess that raises the question: what does that look like for those customers? Either who are security conscious, government, whatnot, or it's a cruise ship. I mean, I would still like if I'm operating, supporting that sort of thing. I still like to be able to capture that sort of information, data. Is there thoughts about a potential deliberate upload or something and processing, or what? I'm just curious what that would look like.
Yeah, so we're definitely.
Can I print it out and mail it to you?
With the new stuff we're working on, we're queuing the data on the core. And I mean, so everything I pull into Reflect is available on the core in some way via our existing APIs, like QRC or whatever it is that you're using. You could pull the stuff off and build it yourself. I'm just not building the on-prem part for you, basically.
Okay.
And so
it's possible, is what you're saying.
The data's there, right? And so what we're starting, and this isn't implemented in production yet, though, is queuing up all this time series data on the core. So we'll get to a place, especially the newer cores, where we have a lot more storage available. I'm keeping 30 days of historical data. So in the case of a cruise ship, all, if not most of that, you can capture, on the core that's queued up. You get back into port, that uploads, and you can still see your trends and other information.
Well, I think they can afford a voucher for their own $90 a day internet package.
Are you?
I need that for Netflix.
Yeah, on the Starbucks at the Seas or whatever we're calling it these days.
But I get the question a lot, and we're not really looking at on-prem right now for the full stack. So.
Okay.
No, you can't have it.
Well, I'm thinking in future stuff, I might want that option.
What's there? You can write the API yourself.
Yeah, it's the data's there. You just got to
and the
manually
API is
do it.
available for you.
Yeah. So an aggregator core, but you need to build it yourself.
Okay, got it.
Can't host that on a VM.
You can.
By the way, whatever happened to vCore?
It's still there. It's still a vCore.
It's available.
It
is available for purchase, download, and installation on the hypervisor of your choice, asterisk, whichever ones we're supporting, currently listed online. Q-SYS.com/vCore.
What we need is more use cases. So there's not a strong roadmap because there hasn't been a lot of strong industry adoption there. So there I'd say it's when we get the right use cases from customers, all about implementing and growing that. There's probably going to be something that happens this year because vCore is about 3 years old, and those first 3-year licenses we sold are going to expire this year if we don't do something. So you will see something coming later this year. Mostly what it's probably going to look like is a lightning on kind of what happens if your license is out, instead of having where you can't deploy a new design or something. I don't even remember what the specific rules are, but probably looking at lightening it up. So it's really just okay, you need a subscription if you want to continue to get updates. And there is a real reason for that, because the only way we figured out when we deployed it to make sure that it's not just a VM that's cloned indefinitely is that it does do check-ins to the cloud on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And I have to pay for those servers and things. So even if allowing you to use it indefinitely if you're not going to do updates, I'm still paying for that connection to the cloud. So we're trying to figure out the right balance there to keep it. Probably things, though, use cases that have been brought up are like aggregator cores, right? So right now it's got a 16 peripheral limit. So maybe we have a version of it that's like no limit, but you need these higher software specs.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of opportunity.
Well, I can see that, but I can see the other end of the spectrum where like, hey, I need like a really low power core for like a room that you know, a system has got. It's got 3 things in it. I'm turning a display on and off. I'm muting, muting. I'm not doing any audio processing. I'm just doing really basic system control and aggregation of that data. Then a little tiny micro core, you know, would be the way to go for that.
Well, that was the original use case we built for, honestly. In fact, we have guys internally that have run them on Nook compute or Intel compute sticks, and you can run a vCore on one, right? And so that works. Nobody ended up using that for anything. And so that's what we actually, the reason you have the 16 peripheral limit and some of the other limits we put on vCore was so that it would be light enough to run in a really small environment, but then nobody ended up really using it that way in the market. So now we're looking.
If I use it a bunch.
If you use it a bunch, then maybe we can build on that.
All right, fair
so
enough.
I need you to buy like 500 of them.
500,
Just
500 first?
500, yeah.
I'll comp you.
Comp you one? Like
Wow.
buy 500, get one free?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's a deal.
Just make sure you print out your punch card.
So that punch card is 500, and then there's one free.
Is that for everybody, or is that just if you're from Wyoming?
That's just
I tell you what, if you bring me a 500 punch card and your vCore licenses, I will give you the number 501 for free.
We can listen to that negotiation for everybody.
This is a deal. This is happening now. I'm going to get questions from procurement. What is all this?
Just 500.
Don't worry
we need
about
to buy 500 of
It's
them.
paperwork.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
500. Also need to return those real quick.
But in order to activate the 501st, you've got to get the reflect.
That's right. You need to have that license for it. So
Oh, yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I think we're gonna swap out to the next crew.
Oh, boy.
There's people behind.
Thanks,
Mike.
guys.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dave.
Got some new people coming.
These are nice and warm.
Good afternoon.
All right, now that we've thrown them out, what's the scoop, man?
What's really happening?
What's really happening?
We just
who's here?
We just
We gotta
changed
tell-
out for we changed out Mike and Dave for Ed Vieser, Jonathan Moore. Ed, you and I worked together last summer on our giant figure out how to program crap program.
Usually, if it's a science fair project with a never-ending punch list, then you email me and we get to work on it.
That went really
You
well.
pawned that
Jonathan,
off? That's the fun part.
You pawned your punch list off on Q-SYS?
So here's how it went.
I didn't know what you were. You didn't know what you were doing, so you punted it.
No, I didn't know what we were doing, so we punted it for one room, and then we replicated it 100 times.
Yes.
So you copy and pasted
Control-C,
their
Control-V.
Don't explain my programming skills.
Chris has discovered our bread and butter, which is create a template, roll it out one time, and take it on from there. It's yours.
And it's worked really well. Aside from I was chatting with.
So he fired his programmer just because of this. Thanks, Ed. You just ruined some dude's life. And
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Jesus.
Jamie's really defensive. No, but basically what we did is instead of hiring Q-SYS directly to program our spaces, we hired them as a deep dive course to teach 2 programmers how to live within the Q-SYS ecosystem.
actually, and I really kind of like this idea, right? That you guys offer this kind of service. So if give them a hard time, but if other places who maybe are making a transition, or maybe I've talked to 3 universities here that are trying to make a go at doing their own integrations. Like, they're tired of putting up with the BS from the normal houses, and they're like, we're going to do this on our own. But they're trying to figure out all these logistics. So how do they take advantage of this program?
We've got a pretty clean program. So it starts with Jonathan Moore over here on the left, Solutions Architect. Okay? So Jonathan develops all the pre-sales kind of consultative time happens with him. And so he ushers people along through the ecosystem until they finally find themselves with the design that they're ready to
talk people out
deploy.
of the stuff they shouldn't do. That's to be clear about this, right?
Yeah.
That's weird, because when we
Chip.
start talking, we're way off base.
We're not talking about us right now.
Oh, sorry.
Is that why
normal?
every room of mine has a Core 610 in it?
And 7 NV32s at the projector only.
Yeah, by the way, just as an aside, you guys need to wrangle your dealers and integrators on bad.
Oh, my
Q-SYS
God.
design.
there's been some
just
doozies.
random encoders everywhere. That's an aside.
So Jonathan helps us put together a package.
So you start with Jonathan. Jonathan puts together a package, and then Jonathan writes the programming scope of work. So that's kind of the unique thing here. He's been with you at this point through the entire pre-sales process. You've decided you want best practice, best-in-class Q-SYS designer file development. He writes that scope of work. It's a pretty robust document. It's basically a checklist for the programmers. He then onboards the programmer to the opportunity. They work on the template, the design. They do the commissioning alongside your team, kind of teach where to focus and where the pain points are and where it can break and how to make sure it doesn't. And then that template's yours. And then Jonathan swings back in for the custom training. It's a pretty clean circle we put together.
One little thing I think is really important is that there's a project manager involved in that whole process, so it makes sure that the process itself through the whole thing keeps moving and it's clean.
You meet all those milestones. Look at all those requirements.
I'm guessing that's your project manager, not our project manager.
That's our project manager.
Your Q-SYS project manager.
Yeah, we've got dedicated project management as part of that programming service.
Now, as part of that programming service, do you just do it, or do you have sessions with the client and say, look, this is how we're going to go about doing this?
Yeah.
Or is it a combination of all the above?
You have options, but 90% of the time it's full service, soup to nuts. We create the Q-SYS designer file based on what we know about your preferences, your required functionality, and then we hand it off to you after deploying it one time ourselves, along with the documentation package and some education, customized education. There are customers that say, we're more interested in, let's call it microservices, like an extension of our Q-SYS education. So while we've taken your control classes, we've taken your audio gain staging classes, now we want you to spend 2 8-hour days with us dedicated to our needs, our Q-SYS designer file, teach us what we need to know based on our unique requirements.
Now,
that's an option that's available, but the vast majority of what we do in our pipeline is really full service.
Do you... I've had experiences with this where I get help, but they they use it in the most difficult way possible, right? So in Q-SYS case, they'd be like, okay, well, we'll help you, but it's all Lua, kaboom! There you go.
Yeah.
Or do you try to use the tools that the everyday person normally has already and build upon that? And if you have to do some custom stuff, you do some custom things. But I know I've had others, they're just like, oh, okay, we'll help you, and they make it the most complicated program on the planet so nobody can replicate it.
Well, we've made those mistakes. I'll be honest with you, sometimes we go for the most elegant thing, maybe a line of code, but that might not be the right thing for the customer. So we've learned those lessons, and our kind of guiding principle is that we're not here to reinvent Q-SYS Designer, we're here to promote Q-SYS Designer in the way that you want to use it. So if that means logic components and wiring components, or if that means block controller, or if that means Lua, we're open no code, low code, all code.
So I think that's one of the values is that with Q-SYS is that you can do one little part of it in the very complicated, or I'm going to say Lua's complicated, right? It may or may not be. Some people like it, some people don't. But let's pretend.
What do you got against Lua?
I don't. I don't have anything. I'm just not.
Jamie, this is taught to kids, like 4 and 5-year-olds.
See?
They're programming this stuff.
Yes.
And they're learning this.
So you're saying, Q-SYS is promoting child labor.
Yes,
my God.
Oh, wow.
They have sweatshops
full of
children.
Us older
Just tons of 4th and 5th graders out there. We're going to hire them all tomorrow.
Ed, we need to
programmers.
Ed, we need to start running right now.
Too late.
We also used to teach ourselves DOS, right? So,
And Pilot.
but some
Basic.
folks, right, they don't want to get into that. But I really like the fact that you can, we can use this plugin, we can use this plugin, and then, I only need these 2 commands here, so use this thing. And then, this section here might be hard. So we might dive deeper in because it requires the hard. So I like that you can kind of mix and match.
So
where others you can't. It's either graphical based or it's syntax, and that's you don't get a
truly
choice.
honestly can use all those types. So block controller, Lua, and it's pretty often that we're using control component like control pins to do something with the designer file because it makes sense to do it that way. And then the advanced functionality ends up coming in through Lua. But I can tell you so many times I get the opportunity to talk to customers directly, and they've been struggling to figure out how to do some pretty, fairly basic logic in control pins, and I show them the scripting way or even the block controller way, and the amount of mouths that have dropped, and said it was that easy the whole time. So that has happened several times now, and it's a lot of fun for me to see those customers. They're just like
the aha moment.
Yeah, the aha moment. I could have done it that way. I could have saved myself hours. Yeah. So it's kind of rewarding, but also at the same time, it's pretty awesome that it really is that easy. It's easy
but they have to learn to walk before they can crawl.
Absolutely. I think the struggle makes you appreciate.
But we teach it to them when they're 4, so.
Start early.
I think my favorite part about block controller is telling people that it's interconnecting blocks of syntactically correct code. Like, just the more I get to use that phrase, the better my life is.
Yeah, that's a lot of words. I don't.
I understood that.
See?
Yeah, I get
people
that.
usually nod like, interconnecting blocks of syntactically correct code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. That's saying something.
Hey, and
we just need to stop here.
Not at the child labor, but at
you've reached him. You just see the aha
he
moment.
Woke up. Yes, he literally. We saw him. His eyes got so wide he woke up. He almost fell out of his chair.
Yeah.
But for those at home,
I'm still here. I hung on.
Yeah, seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Adjusting the seatbelt.
So what other services do you guys provide?
Well, aside from that full service or that sort of microservice mentorship, kind of customized mentorship, if you will, the other thing that we do is Vision Suite commissioning, and we do a lot of it. So automated camera experiences. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of the sales crew, of all the sales crew, other than Dustin Boyle, one of the best engineers we got on staff. I did the most commissionings.
Sure did.
It was so
like 2.
Yeah, 2. You're right. Yeah,
2.5.
So do you guys get to print out the QR codes, or is that someone who does that?
Hey, so that's a whole nother conversation. That is commissioning without an engineer. That's a button push, is what that is.
Those are calibration markers.
Yeah.
And we have those printed they have them in the help file. So your field engineer would be the one that prints those.
The AI. The all-foreseeing AI finds those markers and then figures it out from there. And actually tells you where to put them.
Because Mike was telling us you can now support printers through plugins in Designer, and then I can print those directly.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Make sure
do you carry a printer around with you?
Well, yeah,
do you
pocket
not?
printer?
Don't?
Who doesn't carry a pocket printer?
Well, I have something to learn. I'm going to get Amazon?
Yeah.
Little thermal printer?
Have them.
Like CVS?
I'm a little just get off. Take your headset off.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. So, no, that's cool.
So you also offer some pseudo networking consulting, I'm sure, based upon what you sell, because everybody understands and knows how to set up a network, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just plug it in, it works fine.
So if you run into network issues, is that
is
that you all?
Yeah. So that's
okay.
That's a great question. So. Kind of the unique position that I'm in, I get to talk to end users, and so it gives me the opportunity to assist with their onboarding of AV over IP. One, if it's their first time. 2, if it's they're struggling with the implementation.
So you don't have a 3-strike policy?
No,
what if it's their third time?
No,
we're not
it's funny.
you.
There's a few customers that have gotten to the 4th and 5th and 6th, and then
they just don't learn.
Yeah, and
at a certain point, you just tell them to stop and go hire somebody.
That's you know what? That is exactly what I've done, actually. As far as consultation, that service is something that could be out there, but it's more how to do it right, but how to not do it wrong. So. Really, just I offer that as a service because it's something that really helps people out. I love helping people out. So
it also makes Q-SYS work too.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, Q-SYS is an AV over IP solution. So if the network's not right, then hey, what is it that I'm doing, right? So I offer that service if a customer is struggling, just to assist them in adopting Q-SYS. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you all had to deal with that at some point.
Yeah.
Most companies do that, make AV over IP now.
Well,
to some degree.
Yeah. So, question. I mean, I know this is probably like can of worms here, but How well have your integrators handled, onboarding networking stuff?
They don't.
I don't let them do that.
What's an integrator?
Yeah, what is an integrator?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you. Yeah.
So,
Well, I do that
Yeah.
on my integrator hat. We don't call you all for help.
Mm-hmm.
But on the Western side, WKU side, we also do that ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more difficult because we're dealing with our own network engineers.
Yeah. Well, so it's a legitimate conversation piece. If you on the integration side are deploying an AV or IP solution, would it not be in your best interest to learn how the basics of networking, and especially AV or IP?
No. No.
So
well,
You should just be able to plug it up and it just knows.
We
don't have to do anything. Just plug it in.
It's such a weird dynamic because most of us here, we all do our own, right? And or have like in my case, mine's all on the enterprise, and so I have the network engineers and administrators. They think they're like, oh, well, this is a little different. It's kind of fun, so they help me. Like, I'm lucky. I have somebody that's willing to dig into the deep, dark parts of networking and help us out. And that's really cool, but a lot of places don't.
Yeah,
but what I do
that's
find
not common.
is, I get that. And what I do find is the occasional time where I run across an integrated system from, companies that you may or may not know.
They probably know them.
They probably do. I can guarantee it. That they're so busy trying to get the solution out. They do the island thing with the easy button switches that we all know about.
Yeah.
And they don't even take the time to understand how we normally would do something or how to transition that in. They're just like, here's your box of shit, turn it on. It kind of didn't work, and then now the finger pointing starts in. And so, but I find that some integrators, they are not really accepting that they need to have network engineers as well.
Some of that problem is, from what I've been talking with at the show and kind of deep diving into some of the issues that I'm hearing real world, is that the scopes and expectations from the consultant that designed it never talked about any networking anything. And so, and then so the designer, and this is where you get your finger blame. The designer said, put it on enterprise network, no scope of programming, no scope of network setup. Integrator gets it and is like, I sell Q-SYS, we can plug it up to your network, sure. They're not configuring the network switches. And the IT people are like, well, that's not our product, so why do we have to change our, and then everybody's pointing at everybody else. Like, I know of 3 cases right now, not with Q-SYS product, but of AV over IP product.
In general,
where that exactly happened. It starts with the consultant. So the consultant.
And I think there's some things here where you guys are trying to do this, and some others are too, where you have building a robust, this is the recommendations that we have. These are the protocols that we are, right, and now
standards-based
that we can pass along or reference white papers and things. I just think that there's in the middle, there's just this misunderstanding of.
There needs to be a scope-defining document in bids now where the consultant.
Whoa!
You have to. You have to.
But,
Some sort of scope
what are you guys
of the
seeing?
work to be completed.
Well, are you not seeing that?
Really, no.
You're not seeing that yet?
The network's not too prevalent in the RFPs that I review or the scopes.
And I say, there's been a couple of times where I've actually seen those drawings, and I say, hey, I know this is just more of me mentioning it in a design review. Y'all know that's not going to work, and just a mention of it, and then we start to, well, why not? And so we start to dig, and it's like, so you were talking about the finger pointing. That's a lot of the time. That's when people are screaming and mad about stuff. It's a lot of times when you get brought in. I get brought in, and it's not for the purpose of being a savior. It's the purpose of either saving the project or given grace wherever it needs to be given. But going in and finding what the problem is. Sometimes I have found it takes just a step back and a deep troubleshooting session, and we actually find out sometimes it's something so simple.
Oh, it's usually something stupid.
Right, and something fixable, but it's something that can be prevented.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's my point in bringing it up. Is like some of this stuff is preventable with a little bit of education.
What can we do? What can we do in our workflow, Jonathan, to get more of those errors and omissions done on the front end?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, defining what kind of infrastructure is in place. Honestly, what switching models? Because in my experience, we kind of know what works and we kind of know what doesn't, and then reviewing the actual plan on how stuff is connected. That's a good, let's review
where it's
that.
physically landing on each switch because
physically
of
landing where the
issues,
switch itself. Is it going to be in a closet that's 100 degrees and it's going to shut down on us? Little stuff like that.
Are you plugging all your encoders to this 48-port switch? And
then are you taking that one cable and plugging it up to the campus LAN? And then, so that kind of thing.
Let's send everything to layer 3.
Yeah.
It's got a 1 gig uplink. What do you
should be fine.
1 gig's a gigabit, right?
A
gigabit?
A gigabit? Yeah, that's what I thought.
I can send a lot over a gigabit.
Yeah. Gigabits are big.
Lots of ones and zeros.
Lots of ones and zeros.
Well, sometimes kind of the question about scope of work documents, sometimes I'll see it listed as a network to be configured appropriately to allow for streaming between X, Y, and Z.
By owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
like,
like,
God.
Sure, yeah.
That's like a sentence
That's
just
true.
describes somebody's job. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We pay somebody a lot of money to do that one sentence all year.
I think it's
every day.
And we were having this conversation, over some drinks. It's like, it is so worth it from an education standpoint, understanding how these technologies work at, we're getting a little deep into networking, but understanding how these technologies work at layer 2 versus layer 3. Can you route stuff? Can you get that multicast?
Stuff?
Yeah. Do you even need to route stuff?
I just did
where does
layer
it need
1.
to go?
It's like stick to layer 2.
Physical connection. That's all you need.
That's it.
That's
Back
all
to
needed.
analog.
And honestly, that's kind of the funny part. A designer is just concerned with that layer 1.
Layer 1.
They're worried about where it's connecting, but there's not always that extra thought about.
I'm as guilty of that
what's
as anybody
happening.
doing that with like an audio DSP to just route
For
all my
sure,
crap in
yeah.
there and be like, oh, all that comes in and out, and we'll mix it and process it. It'll be fine.
We'll do it later.
Figure that out later, and that's usually the worst. That's later usually comes way too late.
Later equals lawsuits.
It
sometimes
sure does. Yeah, well, or threats of said
threats of
things.
lawsuits.
Well,
yeah,
guys, thanks for. We're running up on our time. But thanks for joining us this afternoon and kind of describing and helping us understand some of the different roles. Sometimes we come to Infocomm or we come to a booth or you come to a training and it's all about this is our stuff, this is our thing. But here today we heard some of the ideas. Look, this is what we have today, but this is where we're headed, and this is why this is this way. And then, hey, we're here to help you. We're not here to persecute you or make you feel dumber. No. Well, I mean, it's more fun to do that, but...
Do you feel dumber?
I do.
Some days.
Yeah. 4-year-olds who are better at this.
I was insulted.
Syntactically correct.
Yeah, right.
You'll feel a lot better about yourself.
I like that.
So, but thanks, guys, for joining us. Give us a little bit of your time. And also, we did this on purpose, so you got about 20 minutes to sit down and get off your feet and not have to go talk to all those
much appreciated. I was literally right before we got here. I have not sat down since 8 a.m. and I am, I need a little break.
See,
so
we're here for you. We're here for you.
Now that you've been sitting for 15 minutes, when you stand up, your feet are going to kill you.
Yeah. My takeaway is child labor. We need to use more.
Yeah. Student workers.
Labor.
It's the same thing.
Student workers and
younger. Just get the students younger. It works.
So they're smart programmers.
I grew up on a farm. When I was born, my dad smoked a cigar that said it's an employee.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Wow, this is going down a completely different path. We need to end it now before this gets real bad.
Wow.
Jonathan's going to get rode up.
He was like, get us out of here?
Let's get us out of here.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll wrap up here, and we'll do more all sorts of fun Q-SYS stuff in the future.
Thanks, everyone.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV Super Friends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV Super Friends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.